Well, hello everybody. My name is Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food with Keto Under 20. Remember when you were new to this and you wouldn't have even known what Keto Under 20 meant? We have to remember that we all began totally unaware, totally overwhelmed, totally not knowing what was ahead of us, right? And how exciting it has become for most of us that listen here. I just got a new newbie, it's redundant, burp burp, and her name is Carmel, and she said she has 100 pounds to lose. So welcome, Carmel. I hope you stick with it. Go slow. No 30-day wonders here. We are in it for the health part, the cleaning up our insides after decades of not being quite so healthy with our food choices. So this is about indulging. And some people have indulged while being on keto. And some things can happen. One, lesson learned, right? And then there are some physical things that can happen. Constipation, cravings and triggers that you wouldn't believe, a wicked hangover from doing it, bloating, diarrhea, cramping, and then we get to the head part. That's just the below. That's just the tummy stuff. Then we get to the guilt, shame, remorse, and self-loathing. All those things can happen after an indulgence. Or the worst thing can happen, and I hadn't mentioned it. Can you guess what the worst thing is? Oh no, my timer's gone off. Hold on. Sorry, so unprofessional. I knew it had only a few minutes, and yet I still pressed record. Sorry, life happens. So anyway, you had some time to think. So write down your answers on a piece of paper and show them to me. Guess what the worst thing is that could happen if you have an indulgence? Meaning something sugary, grainy, keto-fied, any of those abominations. Guess what could happen? That's the worst. Nothing. Nothing. So you know what that means? That means the brain starts playing you. Look, you had that. Nothing happened. Scale didn't change. None of that digestive stuff that she was talking about. You still went to the bathroom okay? You didn't have cramping. You didn't have a headache. You didn't even have any cravings or triggers or that hangover the next day with the emotions at no extra charge. The self-loathing and the hatred and the disgust with yourself, and nothing happened. Nothing changed. You woke up the next day and you just went, wow, I had that fill in the blank. And nothing happened. And why is she saying it's the worst thing that happened? Because it doesn't happen right away, the worst part. What happens is you got away with it. And your head says, I got away with it. I can begin to do this. And suddenly, that treat that you hadn't had since you started keto, umpteen weeks, days, or months ago, suddenly you start thinking, hey, I could do that again. After all, it's my favorite, it's my husband's favorite, blank, 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 blank. Why not? And suddenly, that first ever time that you hadn't had something like that on keto shows up again a week later. And you think, well, I mean, I'm still kind of losing on keto. I'm still kind of feeling good. I'll have it again. And guess what? you are off to the races. Your head won. If you're a food addict, your food addict won. My food addict's name is Ms. Slick. And boy, is she ever. And she will play on me that I could get away with having that. And that's a very dangerous and slippery slope, because most of us aren't monitored or supervised at home. This Sarah, is not driving to your house and just watching what you eat for your entire awake hours of each day. And I bet other people aren't either. I don't even have any proxies that I could send out. And so it's just kind of dangerous. It's just kind of scary. The indulgence without the hangover, be it digestive or emotional, is the scariest one of all. I hear it in AA all the time. I was there, I was in Europe, they offered this such and such that's made, brewed, refined, stepped on, processed only here in this country, and I had it, and nothing happened. And then they sit there and they say, I lost my sobriety date, I lost all the progress I had made, it took me 3 years to get back here because I couldn't stop. You've seen that with Weight Watchers. You've seen it in other programs. You have to start all over again. For us, that would be being kicked out of ketosis. And you know, it's so funny because if you haven't had an indulgence and you hear these people struggle to get back, you say, well, how come? Why are they struggling? I mean, they wanted it before. They know what they have to do. Why is it such a struggle? You don't have to experience it to know. Let this be somebody else's lesson. It doesn't ever get easier to come back. Why? I don't know. Maybe because you've crossed that line, and now because you weren't true to it and you kind of messed up a little bit and indulged too much. It's really, really hard to go back to the strict and disciplined keto under 20 with no sweets, artificial sweeteners, diet soda, ketofied desserts, ketofied breads, doing net carbs instead of total carbs so you can still have those god-awful grain net carb breads or desserts or whatever those things are. It's hard. It's hard coming back. It's hard looking at those recipes that they show, where it's like net carbs for this sugared ketofied dessert. I don't care if it's now got 6 carbs instead of 36 if I was having the real deal. It's a very dangerous slope to be on. So that indulgence can cost you more than you ever knew it could cost you. And we're not just talking carbs. We're not just talking, and think how quickly that item can be ingested. And then poof, it's over. 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 if you go really, really slow. Take small bites, push the plate away, wait until you've swallowed, take a sip of water in between each bite. I mean, you can play the game however you want to play it. Or you could do a whole day of doing it. Say you went to some sort of, oh my God, food fest, summer food fest. So just know that when you know, it's like thumbing. We used to thumb when we were younger in the good old days, and horrible things didn't happen like they can and will today. You know, you never know who's going to pick you up. So when you choose to have that item, you never know where it's going to take you. And it's not so innocent. It's not innocent at all. So be very wary of those indulgences that you have, because they can cost you big time. And it is hard to get back. And it doesn't seem it if you haven't blown your keto food plan. But if you have blown it, you can come on and comment here and say what trouble you had getting back. And you know what? If you're hearing from that person and they're back, that's amazing, because how many don't bother to come back? Yeah. So be very, very careful when I go on and on and on about the structure and the discipline and the weighing and the measuring and the tracking, you may think that I'm obnoxious. It's like, okay, already. Give it up, Sarah. Well, no, because this could be a person's first time watching. And they might be saying, what is she talking about? I hadn't even heard this before. Why? Because she found a keto porn one and, has been so busy making, incredible desserts and spending $150 setting up her keto bread and dessert kitchen that she didn't realize that there's a structure and a discipline that comes with this, that you actually can give up cravings and triggers and move on from them and get fat adapted and satiated from having things that don't mimic the standard American diet. So be careful with indulgences. Indulgence to us is not a fun word. It's not a treat. It's not a well-earned thing. A well-earned thing would be, for me, is to have one of those aged Ruth Chris, $75 pieces of beef grilled their way to perfection. That would be an indulgence for me. An indulgence is not something that you see other people have while here, and I don't know, they're lucky they either get away with it or they don't have the addiction part like I do. But I can't watch that part, and it's hard, and love to, wish I could, but I've already blown it. I'm almost 67, and I've already blown decades with the one more bite, oh, just this time, oh, on Sunday night it's going to be the food funeral and I'll never eat that again. I've already done all of that ad nauseum. That's what got me here. And it kept me insane and crazy. And is anybody else like me with food and that one bite that just turns into that lost weekend of treats and indulgences? I'm not alone. And so if you thought you were alone with the one bite that can lead you down this ladder into this dungeon, like in Silence of the Lambs, just know that you're not alone. That, a lot of us have tamed our beasts by tracking, measuring, weighing, and really having that structure and that discipline. So be good to yourselves. You've earned it and you deserve it. And nothing tastes as good as clean and abstinent feels upon going to bed and upon waking up the next day. Trust me and others that know that feeling. If you're new here, hang in there, keep going. Have another tablespoon of butter or coconut oil if you can't stand it. You will lose that restlessness eventually and become one of us pickles. You just got to let yourself ferment into the process. It will and can happen for you. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food. Food, 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 food. No indulgences. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.